RICE is the Rainbow Index of Churches in Europe. So the aim of the research is really to rate the inclusivity of churches by country in regard to LGBTQI plus people in Europe.
The motivation was to go from anecdotal information about the position of LGBT people of faith in Europe to information that is a little more consistent and coherent, and can be presented in such a way that it is much more an instrument that can be used in dialogue with churches, but also as a political instrument.
One of the things that sort of inspired us as researchers, but probably also the EF, is the ILGA Europe Index. And the EF asked us to do something like that for the churches.
It's very exciting because it's really the first of its kind here in Europe, and it's actually making history in a way.
First, we had to find out, what do we understand by inclusivity, and how do we measure it?
The thing that we also started as within the research is to come up with this list of indicators.
We came up together with them with a set of 47 criteria of how to assess what inclusion means.
So the main question was, how inclusive are European churches towards LGBTI people?
One of the very big advantages of the index is that it breaks down this very abstract term of inclusivity in many elements of inclusivity, so to say. And I think for churches, it might be helpful to see in the first place where they are inclusive and where not, and then on which specific points they can make progress and what they can do first to think about how to take sensible steps, so to say.
We managed to get a very comprehensive picture from 46 countries, 46 churches, I think, by now. And we are in the last days of preparation for the presentation of the research now.
We wanted to get the indicators as sharply as possible, and also providing them as much information that we want to get.
Also, how do they not only practice it towards the LGBTI people in their midst, but also in society?
We had to find respondents from local churches and countries all over Europe to submit information according to these criteria. If the church feels them, fits those criteria, or halfway fits or not.
We were all working very closely with the co-researchers. As my colleagues were saying, the co-researchers were really essential.
I'm very happy that we were able to involve so many people, and this is also momentum for our European Christian LGBT activism, I think.
It just wouldn't have been possible without the co-researchers, and the responses that we received, I mean, people really put in so much time and effort, and we really want to say a huge thank you for that, because it really was amazing, the responses we get.
To see people involved, to make people feel that they can be involved on this level, and that we can together come to such a result, and that to me was a surprise and a very rewarding part of this work.
Through the website, when the research is already published, there will be an opportunity to submit your response for a church that is missing, to reach out to us and submit it.
To be not, perhaps too subjective in gathering the information. The documents that are provided are used also to objectivize the data.
People are interested in, so they have intuition as to what the situation is, but this is just a very vague feeling, and we need to be able to look more deeply into what it means.
Filling in the questionnaire really caused them pain because it confronted them with the reality that the church perhaps in their local situation was not so bad, and they felt part of the community. But when they looked at, well, the official and the formal situation, then the score was almost every time, 0, 0, against 0. We could have gone to the churches and to ask the officers of the churches, so please fill in this list of indicators and how do you think you will perform? But there we had our hesitations because we do not know what kind of image the church wants to give of itself. And we think for an issue as this, LGBTI inclusion in churches, it is very important to start with the lived experiences of the groups involved.
From the beginning, we thought there would be probably no European church that will score 100%, meaning 47 points. At the end, we had one church that had 45.5, so there's one church that scores quite high.
The comforting feeling is not the one we want to look for with this research. We want people to be challenged, to go better, to advocate for change in their churches, because we imagine like some scenarios of who might turn for those to the data could be just a person who is not an LGBT Christian, like a Christian, a member of a church who could come up and come to this research, read it, and say, actually, I didn't know that my church is doing this and this. I should probably talk to people I know that this has to change.
We are aiming at, with this research as well, to stimulate churches and groups within these churches to go on this journey and to discover together the richness of Christian tradition when it comes to invitations of inclusiveness, of sharing the table, sharing the resources, sharing the goodness of creation, etc.
Giving a diagnosis is part of the curing process. So hopefully this is something that we did this time. We were able to name the disease and make an inventory of the symptoms.
There are churches who are putting restrictions and conditions to baptism and to Eucharist. So putting restrictions to the grace of God.
But it's very much up to us, as it has always been, to bring this under the attention of church organizations, church family organizations, and separate churches.
The report on the whole and the churches' profiles and the country profiles that will be available through the website are a tool that people can use locally in their advocacy work and discussions with the church hierarchy or with ministers, but also for the politicians.
There are moments in this research when we're celebrating, and then there's also moments when, we're realizing that the situation is not very good or is actually very bad.
Now I know that it's not just me feeling that the situation is bad. When you feel that it's not just you having the fever, but it's actually hot in the room, it is a little bit of relief, because you sometimes can question whether you are whether it's the problem is in you or it's the real situation.
In the churches that allow for more openness towards the church tradition with the capital, this makes it more interesting for all people to get involved in issues of gender and sexuality.
Here in the Netherlands, we say, because we are Reformed and Protestant, it always has to be about the Bible. And of course it has to be about the Bible, but it also has to be about culture and what kind of community you are, and about moral discerning and all these kind of things. And
about the people and the lived experiences.
Yes, and this differentiation in perspective is very helpful.
Is there inclusive language in liturgy, or do church leaders use inclusive language when they speak in public? And how important it is that even if there are 5 bishops and only 2 of them have inclusive language, use inclusive language, mention in a positive way or in a neutral way LGBTI, how important this is, because that already makes the picture more diverse and and gives the openness for other people to feel, oh, we do belong.
We really did try our best to not leave those other categories behind that are often left behind. And you know yourself that you'll often see a lot of focus on gay men, lesbian women, cisgendered gay men and lesbian women, and we really wanted to make sure that we were actually inclusive of everybody who falls into the LGBTQI plus family.
We have a special chapter on transgender and the European church's inclusivity.
Churches that are scoring quite high on our list on the ranking say, well, trans identity is not yet an issue. Not yet an issue.
What about the bisexual people? What about the trans people? What about the non-binary people, intersex people? You know, and even when you're making some progress, some steps in one direction, it's really about not letting those others fall behind.
An interesting question for us, and that's maybe something for a follow-up, is what is the deciding factor in this all? Is it the particularity of the bishops in one country that are more, let's say, more or less anti-LGBTI than in other countries? Or is it the national politics that is also influencing the church? Or is the church influencing national politics?
We also want to feel the church leaders to be uncomfortable with the fact that their church is low in the ranking. This is what ILGA Europe does to politicians and governments. They feel that they are much lower in the ranking than where they are, and they want to get higher. There's a kind of positive competition between them.
The hospitality of Jesus, the fellowship of the table of Jesus is very radical. So how do churches practice this in their policies towards LGBTI people?
We formulated 24 ways forward, starting from nothing to something more. And these could be applied to all churches. And maybe also churches could look at them and say, well, we are already past step 10, for instance, and we're moving to 11, 12, and etc. So it's a sort of a discernment way of discerning where the churches are at the moment.
It is up to the churches to see, oh, here are we, and what could be for us the next steps forward. If we look into the mirror of this research, and if this mirror doesn't make such a good picture of us.
If we do think that the symptom X means different things in different countries, because, for example, for this country this already means a progress, and for that country this means a regress. It's still it is all there in the report, because the analysis that is given by the academic team is much deeper than just the figures.
There are always steps to improve and to become more inclusive. And for instance, there we have as a way forward to have a guided protocol for parishes to become more inclusive.
Everything will be hosted on the website, which is, the address is www.inclusive-churches.eu. We will have the presentation available of the research available to a wider public through our social media on the, Vili, correct me if I'm wrong, on the 8th of May, Saturday 8th of May.
Wouldn't it be amazing if this wasn't the end, if this index could then be a tool that we could return to and keep building on this research? That really would be the dream.
Hopefully being able to bring together expertise and means again to repeat this, because so the ILGA Europe index, and there are some other indexes, their strong point is that they repeat it and then either show progress or regress, and it helps them shape their policies also, and helps them to know on what topics specifically they have to act. And for the European Forum, the repetition of this index could also be of great help in shaping policy and shaping vision.
We hope to have this repeated. Again, what we also do hope that we have additional data being submitted between the reports.
We as researchers are quite grateful to the EF to give us this opportunity. I hope that they will be sort of grateful with the result.
We were very happy with the willingness of the Protestant Theological University to participate, because otherwise we would never have been able to do this.
Thank you very much to the membership of the European Forum, to the members for putting this together, for their initial work as well.
We worked in a great partnership with the European Forum, and it was just wonderful, and we learned a lot from it.
My hope now is that people do engage with the research, that they do read it, that they do play with the website, that they do their own little discoveries. For example, if they click filtering on majority and Protestant and Eastern Europe, they find something unexpected, some conclusion that we missed in our assessment or something. So my hope is that people become co-owners and co-researchers with us.